change myself to the earpods microphone. Let's get some of this rubbish out of here. Open the door on me. Oh, Jesus. Oh, yes, it's hot. Oh, it's hot. Hello, everybody. I hope you're well, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me. Today, we're outside. You got to take yourself outside. I think we're disconnected, and now we're back. Taking you outside to the rubbish room, and then we're going on a walk. To this day, I still don't know what belongs in which container. There's so many bins. Let me help this guy out. Put your rubbish in the bin, eh? Some people be lazy, letting their rubbish lie around, letting it fall out from the bins. Okay, everybody. We missed the episode last week. Last week was a very busy week for me. It was very intense. Had to move from my last place that I was living in. As you saw the last episode, we were outside. We were in that place. I was still living in Porto Romana at the time. And it was fun. It was a fun time while it lasted living there, you know. I can't lie. Definitely gonna miss it in some ways, but also really enjoying this new place and finally feeling like I'm finding the groove. Not only with the place, but with the style as well. So, you know, I've always been wanting to work on my style, so it's just felt like I needed to find like and recently, you know, I've always loved J.W. Anderson, but recently especially, I've understood, you know, some more of the style of simplicity from which that he stems from, you know, and I really enjoy it. And I think that I think there's something really great to take away from these aspects of like these creators, these trendsetters who were just wearing what they wanted to wear, not for show, because it's a mix of practicality and attention to detail, but they don't necessarily want to or aren't trying to flex anything, you know? I mean, I'm obviously not following any of these people around. I'm sure a lot of the fits that you see that are like popularized or like exposed in the media are just like good timing, you know, for someone who has taken a photo. But anyway, I just basically mean that Brad Pitt airport style fit is in. All right. Brad Pitt airport style fit. That's me. That's how I'm going into 2027. All right. Setting my standards medium. Okay. I'm not trying to like flex anymore. I don't really find that super interesting. Little dog poop in the. This would be the worst bike to get. Look at this. Oh man, you rent the bike with a present in the basket. Oh God. These Italians, they don't care about anything out here. Going into 2027 strong. All right. It's 8:18 on a Sunday. Had a friend ask me, what am I doing up? Vince, you got to be up, buddy. You got to be up, all right? What are you waiting for? What are you in bed for? The bed's done. It's written. It's history. It's the past. It's yesterday. It was then. Now, now it's sun. Now it's day. You got to get up. You got to breathe in that musky Italian air and just like breathe it in. You got to get out there like this lady riding her bike. Like, look at that. Isn't that just the best thing ever? Isn't that just the best? See that old, that classic weathered person just riding down, just like here, Sunset Boulevard, Hollywood Strip of Milan right now. Stand here long enough and I'll see the Italian. I'll see Martin Scorsese just popping out. I definitely won't see him here of all places. So anyway, back on track to what I was saying. My sights are set for the Brad Pitt airport style fit, flying straight and cruising smoothly into 2027. I've sold most of my most flamboyant pieces of clothing, articles and whatnot. The Supreme hat, actually not the Supreme hat. There's an old video that exists on Instagram of me going to a Louis Vuitton store and buying the collaboration between Tyler the Creator and Pharrell Williams. Now, when I bought that hat, I thought it was the peak of anything ever. Also, don't question me on why I was buying it. I had a good, it was a good month financially. I had just booked an extremely well-paid job, so I had some shmoney, had more than shmoney, had a bit of silly money. And with that silly money, I took myself to Vuitton and sat and just experienced the store as I always do, even if I'm not buying anything. But in this case, I walked out with the Tyler X Pharrell hat. And I thought, this is it. This is like the piece de la resistance. It can't get any better than this in terms of style. I found a hat to end all hats. Had I realized at the time that there's no such thing in style, and that style exists more as a subject of growth rather than something that's achieved and then never develops further. Yeah, that was the last piece I sold. It hurt me a little bit. We obviously didn't make money on a sale like that. That's the other thing about fashion or high-end fashion, is that a lot of the time, most of the time, every time actually, you're not going to make money on it. It's just how fashion works. It's like a car. Once you buy it, as soon as you buy it, as soon as it touches your oily, greasy fashion hands, it's depreciating in value. So that's how that went down. I sold most of my most flamboyant things. I have very little attachment to fashion in my current state. In terms of the article of clothing, I'm so much more concerned now about silhouette, cut, and design. Mainly silhouette, and of course the make of it, rather than something like the branding, the hype. I'm much more interested in finding a style that's a groove, that's something in between. What am I saying? I'm going on a tangent because I'm getting distracted. I'm much more concerned in finding that thing that satisfies my own endeavors in fashion, you know. So there's a few articles and pieces of clothing that I've acquired now and just thrifted actually that are really something different and unique, and I really enjoy it. I really enjoy them. I'm finding so much more than an expensive piece of clothing that I'm anxious to wear, or a piece of clothing that I wear and I'm like, oh, is this styling correctly? You know, I think it's partly why there's so much sense in the Brad Pitt airport style fit, and in these like solid color palettes, and like the simplicity, because less is more. Less is more, people. Less is, you know what I mean? More is always going to be more. You can always have more, but eventually you can't have less without just being completely naked. You know, you can't have less of a thought without having the thought completely erased altogether. So there really is something to that. I believe in like maximalism at times in some areas, but not as strongly as I believe in this philosophy of less is more. Because you can achieve so much more with less, but you can't always achieve more with more. Eventually you're going to have too many things going on, and you're going to lose a lot of the communication between them. What is that? It's like a little squeaky toy. You hear that? Can I flip the camera around? Little duck. I think it's a duck. Oh my God, look, there's little baby ones. How do I flip the camera? Can you see that? It's almost serene. And then you look through the crystal clear water to see what is junk and all of the rubbish of the city just lying around. Cigarette butts, plastic containers, and the likes of which you could only imagine in a city that is truly drowning in pollution. And that is Milan, I guess. In all of its beauty, it's never allowed to shine due to the fact that they don't care about maintaining its natural beauty in any way, shape, or form. So it's kind of sad in some way. Actually, it's just sad in general because I think that there's, pride in maintaining a place. But I also think that there's an obvious, what the hell? It's like a cage here. That's weird. I never even noticed that. Should we go over? Yeah, fuck it. Let's go over. Why not? Oh, dude, if I drop my phone, it's dead. It's over. Look at this. There's like some really cool little flowers there, actually. Can you stand on there? I guess so. If I fall, we'll have it all on video. And they'll say Zeke died falling into a river in Milan. This is cool though. This here in the bushes. Oh, it's because it's a. Ew. Oh my God, what is that? It's like sea monsters down there. It's actually just a really big fish. I'm Zeke the Kid, and welcome to River Monsters. We're gonna catch some of the most horrendous looking fish that you've ever seen out here in the stream of Milan. Oh, look. Look at that. Look at that. Since we last spoke, huh? You get a little bit of everything. A little bit of nature, a little bit of reminding you that you should break the rules every now and then. Mm-hmm. It's a thin line, people. It's a thin line you can walk in the world in terms of the rules. There's a wonderful thing you can do where you're walking on the tightrope of breaking the rules, and you might be able to just shake it a little bit by doing something that's still fun. Not quite illegal. You're not breaking the rope, but you're shaking it a little bit, shaking it up. I think that's called a loophole. But anyway, where was I? My thoughts on style right now. Uh, I don't, it's not dead. It's definitely not dead. It's actually on the way up, I think. I think our idea of style is getting better and better now. I mean, yes, you still have this whole like Rick Owens thing that happened. I don't know if anyone else, I don't know if you guys saw that, but the Rick Owens show, it was okay. Listen, style happens in cycles. Everybody always claims like this is dead, this style is dead now, like, oh my god, like this is the end. But there is no end. Okay. There is truly no end to style. There's only new beginnings and like retakes, you know, retakes of style, things that happen every season, you know, um, that recur often. There's always that. And that's just life, I think. You know, that's just part of life. It's, you know, the same thing happens with the world and all kinds of things. But it's definitely we're definitely a different place. Ever since we shot and killed that gorilla, may he rest in peace, Harambe. I just think that, damn it, we're in the live stream and I need to pee. And there's a guy following me. Am I really going to pee on stream? Is that even legal? Of course it is. I'm the boss here. I make the rules. So anyway, things are constantly moving in a cycle, you know, and I think the sooner you acknowledge that, the sooner you can let go of the fleeting feeling that is as a creative that you get making projects and being maybe like over sentimental about them. You should be sentimental. You should definitely enjoy the things you work on, but also you should also know how to let them go and like express those freely into the world. Shout out to the family here walking behind me. But otherwise you just become stale like a cookie. You know, the last cookie in the cookie jar. It's not good eating. It's not good eating, all right? You taste the staleness, okay? You can taste the years of exposure to loneliness. But when the cookies are all up in there all together, you get them fresh, you know? That's when it's popping. That's when it's really good. That's when that's when the core is soft, okay? That's when it's crispy on the outside and soft on the inside. That's the best kind of cookie, you know what I'm saying? So your ideas are like that. Oh, maybe there we go. We're onto something here. Your ideas are like a fresh cookie, crispy on the outside and soft on the inside. But if you don't jump on it as soon as you have the idea, it slowly becomes more stale. Now, obviously, there's people who like stale cookies, and I'll give it to them. You know what? I'm going to take this. I'm taking this water. It's 100 degrees out here. I'm literally taking this water from the chair because it's a free country. Because it's a free. So back on the stale cookie thing. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go and fill this up. There's a water fountain just around the way. You see that, people? Okay, there's no need to leave. There's no need to not be advantageous with your life. So, hold on, we'll take a break while this guy, look at this obnoxious guy running past me. Having a business call right now. Oh, it's two of them. It's just, thought it was just one guy. Where was I? If your thoughts can be like a cookie, crispy on the outside and stale on the inside, then a good idea is something that you can develop. And I mean, maybe it's a poor metaphor when I think about it, because I don't necessarily know that if your thoughts grow stale the longer you sit on them. Oh, wrong camera. Still on the wrong camera. Front camera, there we go. Okay. Um. Anyway, like I was saying, so I think that the metaphor for the cookie isn't maybe as relevant. Um. Given that it's food related, and I mean, you do consume art, but I'm trying to get away from the cookie metaphor. I'm on a stretch here. When I get some water, when I get some fresh water right now, then I'll be on the new train of thought. But let's pull this out. Again, just a little, just a water that I found on the chair, sitting on the chair. Looks harmless. It doesn't look like it's poisoned in any way. With some Italian poison. Ah, prego, prego. I'll let this guy get a drink first. Actually, the water around here from the fountains is actually like exceptionally fresh. Like it's look at that. See, you got to be survivalists. Nice that they do supply that actually. Let me tap in here in the comment section. Again, if you guys are watching, you want to comment anything, you want to shout out something, feel free to jump in the comment section and shout that thing out. I know that I was getting a call from my guy, Mike G. I don't know if he's watching this stream right now, but I'm about to. I can't exactly leave from this screen, or else the stream might end. But let me see what I can do here. Yeah, no. I don't want to mess with the stream. We're just going to keep going with the flow, and the flow is going. So anyway, we were back on with this idea of food as the metaphor, the cookie metaphor for creativity, in that the outside of an idea or the idea itself ages much like a cookie might as well, or much like a cookie jar filled with cookies. And then the further along you get, the longer you sit and wait on something, then the quicker it sort of can grow stale. But that doesn't necessarily mean the idea is bad, right? It just does mean that, like, I mean, you might have that one stale cookie in the bottom of the jar, and then you keep refilling the jar, right? With new cookies, with new ideas. And so there's that one idea that's at the bottom of the jar. And I mean, it might age like a fine wine even, you know? It might become so stale that it becomes a thing in and of itself. A cookie so stale that it's actually tremendous. Imagine that. Look at this boy, look at this good boy. Taking himself for a walk. Isn't that just hilarious? Basically, I just think that yeah, it's important to not hold on so tightly to your ideas, in the realization that everything we do will eventually be lost to time, in a sad way, but also a great way, because it shows that you shouldn't be so attached to everything, your ideas, your emotions, and different things like that. There's a time and place for everything. You know, there's a conversation that belongs in a situation, and also that doesn't. And it's your job to navigate those things and make those rules up. But also, I do believe that there's merit to the people who test those things, and, you know, such as like comedians, for example, and obviously artists in general, who test the principles of what we accept and what we don't. in the world and, speak on those things in their artistic forms. And this exact way is the ways that you should be detached from your emotions and, when you can, be more observant of the things that are happening around you instead of experiencing them wholeheartedly. Obviously, you don't want to do that all the time because, like, otherwise you're almost like spectating your own movie. And that's just like, nobody wants to do that. I would definitely enjoy being in the third person every now and then. I think it'd be hilarious to see. So you can take yourself through that by being more detached at times with things and ideas and emotions and your craft, because we all own it. It's obvious that we own it. You know, you don't need to be selfish with your ideas. I think you can be free to express that and be free to take criticism on that. That's part of being detached and part of expression. And expressing yourself is allowing others to also then interpret that. You can never tell someone what to think. It often you often fail if you tell someone what to think, or that person just will instantly think something else, you know, or think about how not to think about that thing, right? So you're much better off being honest and just displaying what you do and what you say and allowing someone to take which from that and interpret that in the way that they will. And the better you are at visually and just generally communicating that across, then the better someone else will be at understanding you. And so that's where I just feel that you should really just focus on, like, communication is such a thing that's so important. That's all we're doing at the end of the day, is communicating an idea. And, like, nobody wants 100 ideas a minute as well. So the clearest form of communication wins. Um, when you want to convey a message, you know. But that's not to say that things that are cryptic don't also do well, you know. For example, when the movie Fight Club was aired at Cannes, I think it was the Cannes Films Festival. They said that the movie theater booed the film openly when the film was released, when they were watching the film. You had Brad Pitt and Edward Norton. Brad Pitt apparently lights up a joint right in the cinema. Ed Norton is there with him as well. Ed Norton's looking at him like, everyone's booing. Brad Pitt turns to Ed Norton and says, I'll never make another movie like that in my life. Amongst the whole crowd, booing the film, booing this like artistic expression, this artistic project that these two men worked on. You had Ed Norton in a way doubting what they had done. But also, on the other hand, you had Brad Pitt acknowledging the fact that all great art conjures heavy emotions when it's seen or felt or expressed. That's the merit of great art, right? Is that it opens someone enough to criticize instead of just going, cool. Cool is great, but I don't necessarily think it's how good art is cultivated. Cool is just something that's like a trend, and trends fall off very quickly. You can see that. Cool doesn't necessarily spark a whole community around it. There's like I'm sure there's a Fight Club Reddit, you know. There's a whole community revolving around this thing that was initially taken as something that's terrible and alternative and, and something that's just not cinema. And now it's one of the most revered films in history of film. So there's merit to that, being confident in expressing an idea and, doing something that is different and maybe is a little bit cryptic. But there's a fine line as well. And there's also so many things that come into play. And if you're one person The success of you constructing something that is clear, concise, and measurable to an audience, coherent, the strength of it, connecting with that audience. I mean, if you are doing art as a means to disconnect with an audience, then I would say, why are you doing art? In my opinion, like, the goal here is definitely to connect, and it should be, you know. Why would you want to disconnect people from people? And sometimes people get this twisted, in terms of politicians and things. I think that there's a total disillusionment between what they're trying to achieve and what we should be trying and striving to achieve from a societal point of view, with things like, art, for example, bringing people together. But then obviously there's a yin and yang, right? To all the good in the world, there's an equal and opposite. Like, every reaction is an equal or opposite reaction, right? Shout out to my science nerds out there, my science nerds in the field. Yeah, we learned that in science class. To every action is an opposite or equal reaction. And so, with that being said, it's almost like, with the greatest success that you have, you also have to account for the opposite reaction. So, something to keep in mind. I feel like that's always been present in my life. So, I don't know about you guys as well. I feel like to encounter good is to also encounter evil or bad, or whatever you'd classify as the return, or the counter to good. Some good thoughts in the morning. See, that's why I feel like you got to get up. You got to get up early. You got to go for the walk. Vincenzo asking me, what am I doing so up? What am I doing so up so early? And I'm like, what are you waiting for? What exactly? You waiting for your alarm to wake you up? Really? You're waiting for your 8:25, your 8:25 alarm, even though you woke up 25 minutes before at 8, and you're gonna fall back asleep? Come on, we don't need to do that. I do that sometimes. As I contradict myself. So, but that's fine. I'm allowed to do that. I'm human. I'm just like you. I can contradict myself if I want, as long as I own it. So, anyway, yeah, shout out to alarms. And if you have one set and you commit to your alarm, I think I've had 6:45 set since I was a kid. Actually, when I think back that long, 6:45 was just the time that I would get up before school, I guess. And I've just maintained that alarm. Actually, funnily enough, it probably works in a similar way, triggers that same emotion. Except I wasn't really always excited, I guess, when I think about it. But I was always a morning person, I guess. I always liked the mornings. I thought, like, why not? You get up early and you get your steps in, get your workout in, whatever you got to do first thing in the morning. It sets the beat of the day, sets the BPM of the day, I think. If I have some mornings where I go straight on my phone, if I have some mornings where I slip, maybe, get stuck on a YouTube binge, I really do feel that BPM in the day. It's really hard to actually shift that sometimes, now that I think about it. And I'm just having these thoughts now when I'm talking to you, people on the Since We Last Spoke show. And that's what we do here on Since We Last Spoke. All right. Even if we miss an episode, it's Since We Last Spoke. We pick up where we left off always. But back on track, this idea about the BPM, I believe it's true. It's obviously that it has an inherent link with the dopamine. That's the scientific breakdown. But if we lean into the more like fun and trivial side of the discussion, the idea that what you do first thing in the morning, setting the BPM, if you're setting it first thing with like 1,000 TikToks, because nowadays, I mean, easy, that's an easy scroll. I'm sure my little brother can testify to that. So shout out to my little brother, turned 18 last week. fuck it, this week and every week in June, especially. Turned 18 on June 18th. Yeah. Little father told me he was on uh, a 1 week bender, which in my opinion is weak. 1 week is weak. That's a when you just turned 18, I'm expecting a month bender. That's what we did anyway. A side story. We'll get back to that. But to keep on the main story, the main topic, setting your BPM in the morning by choosing what you consume, whether it be something like food, whatever it is ultimately a question of dopamine. And if you're doing something that spikes your dopamine first thing in the morning, like sugars, like someone back there is not going to make it in the next 12 hours. So if you're doing something like sugars, like TikToks, things that are going to spike your dopamine and really intensely, what you're going to find is that the whole day you're either trying to rebalance or continue to level up that dopamine. And when it's already spiked, it's already at this level where it's super intense. You know, if you've already spiked your dopamine, it's very hard. You have to really kind of take a moment and desensitize yourself. So I think I'm gonna have to have a rest break right here. Using the restroom live on stream. You know I'm gonna mute it though. So only here on the Since We Last Spoke show do you get such an exposed look into the life of Zeek the Kid. Anyway, we'll be back in a moment, guys. We're gonna take a short break. There was obviously experienced some connection interruptions in the stream, but we are back now. Obviously, you cannot even you you can't even experience a moment of leisure here in Milan at the moment. You have mosquitoes between the heat and the mosquitoes, and like the squirrels with rabies. Anyway, we're gonna close out that topic. So watch me get back on track, just like we took a commercial break, because that's what we did. With the dopamine, the first thing in the morning, if you spike your dopamine, you're going to spend the rest of the day chasing it. You've set a baseline that's so high, that's outside of your natural experience, that you're just going to, it's going to make the whole rest of the day such a struggle. So you want to really protect that dopamine first thing in the day. And if you set up a strong routine in the morning, then you're going to protect that. And then your body will begin to start, and it has natural things in place that can protect that throughout the day. Obviously, you should still maintain it as best as you can. And you really shouldn't be scrolling 1,000 TikToks in a day, or doing what I do and scrolling through fashion. But if you're going to do it, take some notes, be conscious, take some screenshots, write some things down, do some things that mark the event and mark the emotions, so that they're, you know, they're set. Side note, we were talking about the bender. The hardest bender that I've ever been on, what's my audio like? There we go. Was, when you graduate, you do this thing called coasties, right? So you make your way to the coast. There she goes, hitting the sprints. That's what I mean. Made our way down to the coast during this time. And I think that was like, see, I can't even remember how long we were down there for. We did so much drinking. We drank so much, man. I don't even know why we did that, but I don't know. When you're a kid, it's like, what are we going to do? Go and drink? And then just feels like it's like your calling, your quest. There's so many questions in life. The only thing you could possibly think about doing is smothering that with a dozen Coronas. So the record was set, though. The record was set. Many records were set down there. First time I had ever stolen a complete microwave. Actually, it was an air fryer, I believe. First time I'd ever, quote unquote, stolen, okay, allegedly taken from one of the other villas, their air fryer, okay. All I'm saying is they don't have any evidence to back this, okay. These are all allegations. I'm standing by that. And 3 Coronas in 23 seconds. That record was set. I don't know anyone that's attempted to beat it. I pray for you if you do try and beat that record. I definitely will never set anything the likes of that again. My younger self can keep that as the peak. So anyway, these drinking games that you play when you're a kid, when you're just a youngin', and the substance is new, it's bubbly, it's something that for some reason you feel like the need to abuse. So, but I very quickly sort of found myself detaching from that feeling of even wanting to drink, and just thinking that I enjoy these moments so potently, and so like I was having the same amount of fun not drinking than I was drinking, and I could stay in control, and I wouldn't end up passed out. Okay, I would pass out on my terms from dancing, you know, from boogieing down. I want to pass out from boogieing down, not from fucking drinking. So, I just thought that there was a pointless thing that was recurring in my life in that way. And you can definitely explore that in a healthy way. There's no reason why you have to go over the line. But as humans do, as we do, as I did, I see the line, I acknowledge the line, and I gracefully step over that line as a means to encounter a new experience. We do that in multiple ways, all kinds of things. But in this case, it was with drinking. So that's what I chose to do. And I suffered. And like anything, and like our science, In a moment, we'll reconnect. Oh my God, what happened to the screen? What happened to the screen? I'm behind. I'm being hidden. What happened? Here we go. Should I try this? There we go. We're back. Connection reconnecting. I'm outside. I'm literally outside. NYC. Shout out NYC outside. Shout out Mike G. So, nevertheless, we're going to wrap this episode up. Going to keep it short and sharp. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Just a 45 minutes since we last spoke. A quick catch up as I'm out here on my endeavors in Milan. And you'll find that in life, there's many lines in the sand, okay? Figurative things that are set up that, someone is saying, don't cross that line, don't do that thing. And it's up to you to decide that, okay? You need to have your measures in place. This is extremely important. This is super important if you're an artist, if you're in the world trying to navigate the world, make good decisions, and build healthy relationships. These are things you need to respect in life, and you need to have the discipline for that as well. So set healthy habits, people. Don't litter. Drink water, and do the right thing. Like Spike Lee said. All right, people. Wishing you all the best, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to do a bit of a workout right now. Gym Park's over there. Get outside, do your thing today. This has been Since We Last Spoke with your host, as always, Zeek the Kid. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. See you in the next one.